you have another chance to rise higher, another chance to think differently, another chance to build a life that honors your purpose. But so many waste that moment. They open their eyes, but never awaken their spirit. They reach for their phone before they reach for their thoughts. They let the world program their mind before they have the chance to shape their destiny. My friend, the morning is sacred. It is the architect of your mind, the birthplace of your focus, and the foundation upon which your entire day and your entire life are built. The truth is, success doesn't start when the workday begins. It starts the moment you wake up. The first hour of your morning decides the direction of your destiny. It is where battles are won or lost, not on the battlefield of life, but in the battlefield of the mind. That's why there are 6 powerful morning rules, divine principles, if you will, that can rewire your brain for success, peace, and purpose. If you honor these, your life will transform from the inside out. The first rule is Sarah's silence before noisy. Do not let chaos be the first voice you hear. Before you face the world, face your thoughts. Before you touch your phone, touch your soul. Sit in stillness and let your heart breathe. Success begins with alignment, not activity. When you start your morning in silence, you teach your mind that peace is your power, not pressure. You begin to hear the gentle voice of clarity that tells you where to go, what to do, and what to ignore. The world may call it meditation or reflection, but I tell you, it is spiritual discipline, because every successful life is built upon the foundation of inner stillness. The second rule is gratitude before goals. So many wake up chasing what they do not have, forgetting to thank God for what they do. They run after what's missing, not realizing that gratitude multiplies what's present. Before you make your to-do list, make your gratitude list. Thank the Creator for the breath in your lungs, for the roof above you, for the strength in your body, and for the chance to try again. A grateful heart reprograms the brain. It shifts you from scarcity to abundance, from fear to faith, from anxiety to assurance. When you start your day in gratitude, your brain begins to see opportunity where it once saw obstacles. The third rule is R's focus before distraction. Most people open their eyes and immediately give their attention away to notifications, to noise, to nonsense. But focus is the oxygen of success. The human brain is like a compass. It points wherever your attention goes. If you spend your morning scattered, your day will be wasted. But if you guard your focus like treasure, your life will multiply in power. Before you let the world's agenda enter your mind, choose your own. Ask yourself, what truly matters today? Set your intention, claim your purpose, and let nothing break that concentration. Your mind cannot serve 2 masters. It cannot be both distracted and successful at the same time. The fourth rule is fresh movement before comfort. The body and mind are one divine creation, and when the body moves, the mind awakens. Too many people sleep through their mornings not because they lack energy, but because they never activate it. The brain releases power when the body engages motion. Walk, stretch, breathe deeply. Do something that reminds you that life still flows within you. Movement teaches discipline, And discipline teaches the mind who's in control. A person who moves in the morning is telling life, I am ready. A person who sits still in comfort tells life, I am afraid. Rise, move, and train your body to follow the orders of your spirit. The fifth rule is learning before labor. The mind must be fed before it performs. Too many people begin their day reacting, not growing. But your morning should not only be a time to work. It should be a time to become wiser. Read something that uplifts your soul. Listen to something that stretches your thinking. Study something that draws you closer to truth. Knowledge is not just information, it is transformation. Every morning you either rewire your mind with wisdom or you decay it with worry. The difference between the ordinary and the extraordinary is not talent. It is how they feed their mind before the day begins. And finally, the sixth rule, faith before fear. Before you step into the unknown, speak victory over your life. Success is not born from luck, but from belief. The world may throw uncertainty your way, but faith is the lens that turns problems into possibilities. Declare over your morning that you will not be shaken. Speak life into your plans. Remind your mind that failure does not define you. Delay does not destroy you, and doubt cannot defeat you. When faith becomes your morning ritual, fear loses its grip over your destiny. My friend, these 6 rules are not just habits, they are holy disciplines. They are the building blocks of a renewed mind and a transformed life. If you give your mornings to purpose, your days will serve your destiny. If you rewire your thoughts at sunrise, you will rewrite your future by sunset. The world doesn't change when the clock strikes 12. It changes when you decide to take back the first hour of your day. The morning is your moment to rise, to think higher, to choose peace over panic, purpose over pressure, and faith over fear. Because success isn't something you chase. It's something you become when your mind is right, your heart is aligned, and your mornings are ruled by discipline and devotion. Every sunrise is an invitation. The question is, will you answer it differently tomorrow? Your morning determines your mindset. Those simple words carry more power than most people realize. The way you begin your day is not a small detail. It's the very foundation upon which the rest of your life is built. When you open your eyes in the morning, you are standing at a crossroads between chaos and clarity, between distraction and destiny. Every thought you entertain, every action you take, every moment you allow in that first hour becomes the architect of your entire day. If your morning is scattered, your mind will follow. If your morning is intentional, your day will unfold with power. This is why the greatest transformation in life doesn't begin with grand achievements, but with small disciplines in the quiet of dawn. The morning is your opportunity to train your mind before the world trains it for you. It's the sacred hour when you decide who will lead your life, your emotions, your distractions, or your purpose. Most people open their eyes and immediately give away their peace. They reach for the phone, scroll through social media, and fill their mind with other people's noise before they even know how they feel themselves. Before their feet touch the ground, their soul is already heavy. The mind is bombarded the heart is restless, and by the time the day begins, they are already behind. Not because of what happened, but because of what they allowed. The morning is not just the start of your day. It's the stage where your mind rehearses how to live. If you feed it confusion, it will respond with confusion. If you feed it peace, it will respond with strength. The first voice you hear in the morning shapes every decision that follows. And if that voice comes from chaos, your spirit will spend the day searching for calm that could have been created at sunrise. There's a reason the morning feels sacred. It's quiet. It's still. The world hasn't yet demanded your attention. It's in those first moments that your brain is the most receptive. It's like wet cement, ready to be molded into any shape you choose. Neuroscience even proves this. The brain's early morning state, called the theta state, is where habits and beliefs are most easily formed. In other words, the morning is the time when your thoughts have the most power to direct your destiny. The things you say to yourself, the things you think, the things you dwell on, they don't just pass through your mind, they plant themselves deep within it. So if you begin with negativity, your brain wires itself for defeat. But if you begin with gratitude, with focus, with peace, your brain begins to rewire itself for success. Every successful person you've ever heard of has one thing in common. They own their morning. They don't wait for motivation to strike. They create it. They don't leave their mindset to chance. They train it because they understand something the average person forgets. Your mindset is not a reaction. It's a decision. When you start your morning with purpose, you're not just preparing for the day. You're programming your mind for the life you want to live. That's why the first hour of your day should be treated like a treasure chest. What you put inside determines the wealth of your mind. Imagine waking up and instead of rushing, you pause. You breathe. You allow your mind to settle into silence. You thank the Creator for another chance to live, to grow, to try again. You don't run to the noise. You build your peace. You don't let your emotions dictate your direction. You command them with purpose. That is how you begin to rewire your brain. You are teaching it that peace comes before pressure. That intention comes before impulse. That success is not something that happens to you. It's something that flows through you. When you own your morning, you own your mind. And when you own your mind, you control the course of your life. But this is where discipline comes in. Because it's easy to say, I'll wake up early. I'll think positively. I'll start strong. Yet the pull of comfort is powerful. The warmth of the bed whispers, stay a little longer. The noise of the phone calls out, check just one thing. And before you know it, your morning is gone. And with it, your focus. That's why the morning demands respect. It's not about what time you wake up. It's about what you wake up to. You must decide what deserves your attention before the world decides for you. Do you begin with gratitude or with gossip, with faith or with fear, with purpose or with panic? Every choice rewires your brain in one direction or another. When you train your mornings with discipline, your brain begins to adapt. It learns to expect focus. It craves peace. It searches for clarity instead of chaos. The morning becomes a signal to your entire being that it's time to rise, to lead, to live intentionally. That's why champions rise early, not because they love waking up, but because they love what the morning does to their mind. They understand that success is born in the small hours, when no one is watching, when the mind is still shaping itself. That first hour isn't just preparation, it's transformation. Some mornings you'll wake up heavy. Life will press against your spirit, and your mind will try to pull you back into fear or frustration. But that's when the first hour matters most. It's your chance to reclaim your thoughts, to remind yourself that yesterday's pain doesn't define today's potential, to breathe, to pray, to affirm that this is a new beginning. When you choose power over panic, gratitude over grumbling, faith over fear, you are literally rewiring the pathways in your brain. You are teaching your mind to see opportunity where it once saw obstacles. You are building mental resilience that cannot be shaken by circumstance. If you win your morning, you win your mind. If you win your mind, you win your life. Because everything that happens externally is first born internally. Your success, your peace, your progress, they all begin with how you think. And your thinking begins the moment you wake up. That's why every sunrise is more than a routine. It's an invitation. The morning is whispering to you, shape me carefully, for I will shape you completely. Each choice, each thought, each breath, it all matters. The first hour after you open your eyes determines the strength, direction, and clarity of every hour that follows. The morning is not the beginning of the day. It is the beginning of your becoming. When you learn to protect it, you protect your purpose. When you learn to guide it, you guide your destiny. Because your morning determines your mindset, and your mindset determines your life. Gratitude and faith reprogram the brain for success. Those who rise each morning with a heart of thanksgiving awaken something deeper than motivation. They awaken alignment. Gratitude is not just an emotion, it is an instruction to your mind, a command to your spirit, and a signal to your brain that says, I already have enough to begin. The moment you wake up and choose gratitude over grumbling, your entire mental chemistry changes. Scientists call it a release of dopamine and serotonin. Those are the feel-good hormones. But the spirit knows it as peace, joy, and strength. A grateful heart turns what could be an ordinary morning into a moment of transformation. When you start the day counting blessings instead of burdens, you shift your focus from what's missing to what's meaningful. And when your focus changes, your reality begins to change with it. So many people rise every morning carrying invisible weights. They think about what they lack, who disappointed them, what went wrong yesterday, and what might go wrong today. They rehearse anxiety before they even rise from the bed. Their minds become like a battlefield of negative expectation. But gratitude is the weapon that clears that battlefield. Gratitude breaks the pattern of fear. It silences the noise of scarcity and invites peace to take its place. The brain is designed to follow your dominant thoughts. And when your dominant thoughts are appreciation and faith, The brain begins to rewire itself to see opportunity instead of danger, blessings instead of burdens, and miracles instead of misery. Faith and gratitude work together like the wings of a bird. One cannot soar without the other. Gratitude looks at what is and says, "Thank you." Faith looks at what is not yet and says, "I believe." When these two forces combine, your mind becomes unstoppable. Gratitude anchors you in the present, and faith propels you into the future. One keeps you grounded, the other helps you grow. That is why people who live in gratitude and faith radiate strength, no matter what they face. They have trained their brain to rise above fear. They see storms as preparation, not punishment. They understand that no matter how dark the night, the morning always comes. And when it does, it brings fresh mercy and renewed hope. When you begin your morning in gratitude, you remind your brain that life is not happening to you. It's happening for you. You stop looking for things to complain about and start noticing everything that's working in your favor. The simple breath in your lungs becomes a miracle. The sound of birds becomes a melody of grace. Even the smallest details, your heartbeat, your shelter, your ability to begin again, become reminders that you are blessed. And here's the beauty. When your mind focuses on blessings, it creates more of them. That's how the brain works. It filters out what you ignore and magnifies what you focus on. If you focus on stress, you'll see more stress. If you focus on grace, you'll see more grace. Gratitude is not denial, it's direction. It points your attention to where power lies, not where problems grow. Faith completes this transformation. Faith is the force that makes the unseen possible. It tells your brain that success isn't something you have to see to believe. It's something you believe until you see. Faith reshapes your neural pathways just as gratitude does. It strengthens your mental resilience. When you wake up and declare, "Something good is going to happen today," your brain begins to prepare your body, your energy, and your focus to look for those good things. You begin to walk differently, think differently, act differently, because belief becomes the software that runs your entire system. The moment fear says, "What if you fail?" Faith replies, "What if this is the day it works?" That's how you rewire the brain from fear to courage, from doubt to destiny. Most people think success starts with strategy or intelligence, but the truth is it starts with state. The state of your mind and the state of your heart. Gratitude calms your emotions. Faith clears your vision. You cannot think clearly when your mind is poisoned with fear, and you cannot see opportunity when your eyes are fixed on lack. That's why each morning must be your mental and spiritual reset. It's the time to remind yourself, "I am blessed to be alive, and I am equipped for whatever comes." You don't start your day looking for signs of defeat. You start looking for signs of favor. That single shift opens doors you didn't even know were there. There will be mornings when your heart feels heavy, when the day ahead seems uncertain. That's when gratitude and faith must become your armor, even when circumstances give you no reason to smile. Gratitude gives you one anyway, because gratitude doesn't deny the pain. It reminds you of purpose. Faith doesn't ignore reality. It elevates your perspective above it. Together they create a shield that keeps your spirit unshaken. When you say, "I thank you for what I have," you train your mind to see provision. When you say, "I trust you for what's coming," you train your heart to wait in peace. That combination creates the mental atmosphere of success, one where fear cannot thrive and doubt cannot grow. The world often teaches that success is about hustle, pressure, and performance. But real success begins in the invisible space between your thoughts. It begins when you wake up with a grateful spirit and a believing mind. When your first thought in the morning is, "Thank you," and your second thought is, "I trust you," you are already ahead. You're already rewiring your brain to operate from abundance instead of anxiety. You're telling your subconscious mind, "Today I will live in expectation, not in fear." The power of that shift is immeasurable because whatever you believe long enough, your brain begins to make real. Gratitude feeds faith, and faith fuels gratitude. It's an endless cycle of strength and success. So many people pray for breakthroughs while living in negativity. They want blessings, but focus only on problems. They say they have faith, yet their minds are filled with fear. You cannot program your brain for success while feeding it with doubt. Gratitude and faith are the spiritual tools that cleanse your inner environment. They create mental clarity. They strengthen emotional balance. They rewire your brain to look for light even when life feels dark. And when your brain learns to expect light, it begins to lead you toward it. Every morning, you have two choices: to live from fear or to live from faith, to complain about what's missing or to thank God for what remains. Those choices determine how your brain fires, how your heart feels, and how your day unfolds. Gratitude opens the door. Faith keeps it open. Together, they create the mindset of a conqueror. They remind you that success is not a coincidence. It's a condition of the mind that begins the moment you choose to see blessings instead of burdens. And when you start your morning in gratitude and faith, you don't just change your thoughts, you change your life from the inside out. Discipline and movement create mental power. The body and the mind are not two separate systems. They are one divine creation that speak to each other constantly. The way you move your body shapes the way your mind thinks. The way you discipline your body determines how much strength your spirit carries. The first battle of every morning is not against the world. It's against your own resistance. That hesitation to rise, that voice that says, "Stay a little longer," is not laziness. It is the part of your mind that fears change. But every time you choose discipline over comfort, you are teaching your brain who's in control. You are saying, "My spirit commands and my body follows." That single decision, repeated daily, rewires your mind for power, for focus, for victory. When you move your body, you awaken something deep within. You shake off the fog of doubt, the weight of worry, the heaviness of yesterday. Movement signals life. The moment you start to stretch, walk, or breathe deeply, your brain begins to produce energy. Your thoughts sharpen. Your emotions lift. You stop dragging yourself through the day and start leading it. The act of moving in the morning is more than exercise. It's a declaration. It's saying, I am alive, I am capable, and I am in charge. Even a few minutes of movement, walking in silence, doing a few stretches, taking deep, intentional breaths, has the power to awaken your spirit and fuel your purpose. It's not about intensity, it's about consistency. Every morning that you choose movement over stillness, discipline over delay, you build a little more strength in your mind. Discipline is not punishment. It's power under control. It's the ability to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. Feelings are temporary. Discipline is eternal. Every successful life is built on that principle. Greatness doesn't come from doing what's easy. It comes from doing what's necessary. The person who trains themselves to rise when they want to sleep, to work when they want to rest, to move when they want to sit, that person becomes unstoppable because the brain learns to obey strength, not weakness. The mind begins to associate discomfort with growth, effort with excellence, and discipline with freedom. It's in those small moments before the day begins that champions are formed, not in public applause, but in private decision. When you discipline your mornings, you are not just managing time, you are mastering yourself. Most people wake up and let their emotions decide what kind of day they'll have. But discipline says, I decide how I feel. I decide how I act. The moment you rise and take control of your body, you also take control of your mind. Your brain begins to follow your movement. It releases chemicals that lift your mood, boost your confidence, and heighten your focus. This is why people who exercise early often carry a different kind of strength. They have learned to command their day rather than be commanded by it. The discipline of movement teaches the brain that success is not built on comfort, but on consistency. Movement in the morning doesn't just change how you look, it changes how you think. When your blood flows, your ideas flow. When your muscles engage, your motivation engages. The simple act of moving sends a message to every part of your being. Wake up, focus, rise. It's in that rhythm of movement that mental clarity begins to bloom. You can't think clearly when your body is stagnant, just as you can't reach new heights if your habits remain still. Every step, every stretch, every breath taken with purpose is a declaration of self-mastery. You remind your mind that progress is your nature and stillness is your enemy. And yet, discipline is not just about movement. It's about mastery over impulse. It's easy to stay in bed and promise yourself you'll start tomorrow. It's easy to skip that moment of stillness or that time of reflection because you don't feel ready. But the truth is, discipline isn't about readiness. It's about responsibility. It's the understanding that your future depends on the choices you make right now. When you move your body in the morning, even when you don't feel like it, you are breaking the grip of comfort that has held so many people captive. Comfort is deceptive. It feels safe, but it steals your potential. Discipline feels difficult, but it births your destiny. Every movement you make trains your brain to believe in effort. When you push your body beyond resistance, your mind learns endurance. That endurance doesn't just show up in workouts. It shows up in every area of your life. You begin to persist longer in challenges, stay calmer under pressure, and think clearer in chaos. The discipline of movement creates mental strength that cannot be faked. It's built through repetition, through commitment, through doing the small, unglamorous things that most people skip. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Because discipline is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it grows. Movement also connects you to your purpose. There is something sacred about waking up and using the body you've been given. Each stretch, each breath, each step becomes a form of gratitude. You are saying, I am thankful for this vessel that carries my dreams. And when gratitude meets discipline, transformation begins. The mind starts to release old limits and accept new possibilities. You stop waiting for motivation because movement becomes your motivation. You stop looking for inspiration because discipline becomes your inspiration. You stop chasing energy because energy begins to chase you. That's the miracle of morning discipline. It multiplies everything you give it. There will be mornings when it's hard, when your body aches, when your mind is tired, when you'd rather stay in the comfort of sleep. But remember this, every time you rise, when it's hard, you are rewriting your identity. You are no longer someone who gives up when it's uncomfortable. You are someone who acts with conviction. You are building the kind of mental power that success requires. Because success doesn't come to the most talented or the most gifted. It comes to the most disciplined. The brain learns through habit, and every disciplined morning tells your brain, I am in command. Over time, that belief becomes unshakable. Movement and discipline are not just morning routines, they are declarations of purpose. They say to the universe, I am awake, I am ready, I am committed. Every stretch, every step, every choice to rise instead of rest is another brick laid in the foundation of your destiny. You may not see the results immediately, but something powerful is happening beneath the surface. Your brain is changing. Your habits are changing. Your identity is changing. And soon, your life will follow. Because discipline and movement are the bridge between where you are and who you are meant to become. Feed your mind before you face the world. Every morning, the moment you awaken, your mind is like fertile soil, open and ready to receive whatever seeds you plant. And those seeds, your first thoughts, your first words, your first choices determine what will grow in your heart throughout the day. The tragedy is that most people let the world plant those seeds for them. They wake up and immediately feed on noise, scrolling through their phones, absorbing fear, gossip, comparison, and distraction before they've even had a chance to hear their own thoughts. They let strangers on screens decide how they'll feel, what they'll believe, and how they'll see themselves. By the time they step out of bed, their spirit is already polluted. You cannot expect clarity from a mind that feeds on confusion. You cannot expect peace from a heart that begins its day in chaos. Feeding your mind means being intentional about what you allow to enter. It means guarding your thoughts as you would guard your home. Because what you allow in shapes what you live out. If you feed your mind fear, you'll live in fear. If you feed it doubt, you'll hesitate in every decision. But if you feed it truth, wisdom, and inspiration, your entire life begins to reflect strength, faith, and focus. Every morning gives you a sacred opportunity to train your thoughts for greatness. The mind is like a muscle. It must be strengthened daily. Just as the body needs food for energy, the mind needs nourishment for clarity. It hungers for ideas, for faith, for knowledge, for reminders of who you are and why you're here. If you neglect that, your mind will consume whatever the world throws at it, and the world rarely serves what's healthy. When you choose to feed your mind first thing in the morning, you're doing more than preparing for the day. You're setting the spiritual atmosphere of your life. You are saying, before I face the noise, I will fill myself with truth. That might be a book that uplifts your spirit, a passage of scripture that reminds you of your purpose, a journal entry that helps you reflect, or even a few moments of quiet where you simply think and listen. The goal is not to consume more information, but to consume the right kind, because the mind becomes what it continually consumes. When you start your day with wisdom, your thoughts rise. When you start with chaos, your focus falls. The quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your direction. There is a deep connection between what you feed your mind and how you face your challenges. A mind that's been trained on wisdom responds to difficulty with calmness and creativity. A mind that's been starved of truth reacts with fear and confusion. The difference between those who break down under pressure and those who rise above it often lies in what they've been feeding their minds long before the test came. Every morning, you are equipping your inner world for battle. If you start with strength, your mind becomes a fortress. But if you start with emptiness, every problem feels like an attack you can't withstand. When you feed your mind early with thoughts that inspire, your day takes on a completely different energy. You notice beauty in simple things. You approach problems with solutions, not panic. You carry yourself with purpose because your thoughts are anchored in purpose. You begin to walk with quiet confidence because your inner world has been built on solid truth. This is the power of mental nutrition. Whatever you put in multiplies. A single word of encouragement, a single idea that expands your perspective can shift the entire rhythm of your day. Most people spend their mornings reacting. They read news designed to provoke fear. They scroll through feeds designed to stir comparison. They listen to voices that weaken rather than strengthen. Then they wonder why they feel anxious, angry, and lost by noon. The mind cannot thrive on mental junk food. Just as the body decays from a poor diet, the mind decays from a poor mental diet. If you want your thoughts to be clear, your emotions to be stable, and your purpose to be strong, you must feed your mind things that lift it higher. Wisdom, truth, faith, knowledge, gratitude. These are the nutrients of success. Feeding your mind also means feeding its silence. The world trains us to believe that constant stimulation is progress, but silence is the soil where clarity grows. In the quiet of the morning, when your mind is fresh, you have the chance to listen to the inner voice that is often drowned out by noise during the day. That voice holds wisdom. It reminds you of who you are and where you're going. When you give your mind moments of reflection before the chaos begins, you train it to respond from peace instead of panic. You begin to carry that calm throughout the day, and people will notice it, not because you are louder, but because you are centered. A nourished mind does not react, it responds. It does not complain, it creates. It does not fear the unknown, it walks in faith. And that kind of mindset doesn't appear overnight. It's cultivated through daily discipline. Every time you read something empowering, every time you listen to something that builds you, every time you pause to think before you scroll, you are strengthening your mind. You are wiring it to seek truth over noise, progress over distraction, purpose over pleasure. Over time, that daily habit becomes the very foundation of your success. You don't need to spend hours feeding your mind. You only need to begin with intention. 10 focused minutes of reflection or study in the morning can do more for your mental and spiritual state than hours of mindless consumption throughout the day. The goal is not quantity, it's quality. You are programming your brain to think higher thoughts, to make wiser choices, to live with deeper awareness. And when your mind is strong, everything else follows. Your relationships improve because you respond with patience. Your work improves because you think with clarity. Your confidence grows because your inner world is stable. Feeding your mind before facing the world is not a ritual. It's a reminder that before you let life tell you who you are, you must tell life who you are. Before you let the world set your mood, you must set your mind. Every morning gives you that choice, to let external voices shape you, or to let truth and wisdom build you. You can either walk into the day empty and reactive, or full and grounded. And those who take the time to feed their mind each morning live differently. They walk taller, think clearer, and move with purpose because they have built strength from within. The greatest victories of life are not won in public, but in the quiet preparation of the morning when you decide to feed your mind with what makes you unstoppable. Success is not born in the noise of the world, but in the stillness of your mornings. Every sunrise is God's invitation to begin again, to think higher, to walk straighter, to dream deeper. The way you rise determines the way you live. If you can command your morning, you can command your destiny. You cannot expect greatness if your mornings are filled with chaos, complaint, or confusion. You must rise with purpose, with gratitude, with discipline. You must learn to speak life before the world speaks doubt. Every successful man and woman you've ever admired learned to master this sacred hour. The quiet battlefield where the mind is strengthened, the spirit is aligned, and the heart is prepared for victory. The secret is simple. Feed your soul before you face the storm. When your mornings are filled with gratitude, movement, learning, and faith, you rewire your entire brain for clarity, confidence, and courage. You stop chasing blessings and start becoming one. So tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, before you let the noise of the world drown your spirit, pause, breathe. Thank God for the gift of another chance arms to rise. Move your body like someone preparing for battle. Fill your mind with truth, not fear. And walk into the day knowing that success is not something you wait for. It's something you build from the moment you open your eyes. The power to change your life does not begin next week, next month, or next year. It begins the moment you decide to take control of your morning. So rise early, rise strong, rise with purpose. Because when you rule your morning, you rule your mind. And when you rule your mind, nothing in this world can stop you.